Hello and welcome to Sunday Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. A lot is going on in the polity, and as always, it's our responsibility to keep track of everything. But for today's program, there's a big conversation, an hour-long conversation with a man in the know as far as the polity is concerned. But we're not starting from home ground on the program just immediately. Okay, let's start from outside the country. What is happening now in the United States of America? President Joe Biden has just announced that he's dropping out of the presidential race after mounting calls for Democrats for him to end his re-election bid. He endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the party's new nominee. Biden failed to convince prominent members of his own party that he can defeat former President Donald Trump in the November election after his poor performance at that presidential debate sometime in June. And amazingly, he was the one that did call for that presidential debate. And that was more like what broke the camel's back. At the end of that debate, it was very clear that age has taken its course on President Joe Biden, and things have trickled down from that particular point on. Then we went on to the issue of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. So with the way the polity is going on in America, it's quite interesting. So this is going to be a big conversation in the coming days as far as global politics is concerned, given what is playing out in America. Can Kamala Harris stand up to Donald Trump? What happened that Joe Biden finally decided, I think it's time to just excuse myself from all of this and take a break, given what has happened to me? Hey, but let's come back home. But just our neighboring country, not immediately, just somewhere in Ghana, President Bola Tinubu says the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, will continue to dialogue with Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to maintain unity, and will convene a special extraordinary summit on the future of the community. The three Sahel countries of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, which are being ruled by the military and are threatening to withdraw from the ECOWAS. According to the statement by the President's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, President Tinubu, in his capacity as the ECOWAS chairman, addressed African leaders on the status of ECOWAS, highlighting some of the progress so far made by the West African economic bloc and the prevailing challenges of that particular bloc. Presenting the achievements of the ECOWAS in the past 1 year at the 6th Media Coordination meeting of African Union, President Tinubu added that the community has activated a standby force to counter terrorism and will continue to explore funding options. The president also outlined how ECOWAS has been supporting member states to enhance electoral and governance processes and working to consolidate the free trade area, customs union, and a common market. So those are some of the highlights of the president's speech today in Ghana. But that's not all. Coming back home, the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC in Ebonyi State, has won all the chairmanship and councillorship seats in the 13 local government areas of Ebonyi State. Announcing the result at the headquarters of the Ebonyi State Independent Electoral Commission in Abakaliki, the state capital today. Chairman of the Electoral Commission says only 3 political parties participated in that exercise. They include the All Progressives Grand Alliance, Labour Party, and the All Progressives Congress. So that's how things actually played out today as far as Ebonyi local government election is concerned. So this is yet another election that has taken place at that local level where the ruling party swept literally everything. So it's going to form part of our conversation at some point. But let me bring in my guest. We have a lot to talk about in the next hour or so. Is a senator representing Edo North, former governor of Edo State. Senator Oshiomhole joins us from our Abuja studio. Senator, thank you so much for coming on the program, sir.
Thank you for having me, my brother.
Distinguished, let's begin from what is going on outside our shores before we dovetail into what is happening here. What do you make of the dropping out of the race of President Joe Biden?
Well, I think it's an open secret, like you mentioned in your analysis, that very senior Democrats had concerns about the strength of President Biden, and they were not sure that with Biden on the ticket of Democrat that he will be able to defeat former President Trump. And I think what is interesting is that even though for a couple of weeks after that debate, President Biden kept insisting that he wasn't going to drop his ambition. He was convinced that he can win the election. He even said he doesn't want to waste all that he has accomplished in 3 years. But that's the way democracy works. Those who have backed him, we read about major donors feeling concerned about the possibility of Biden not winning. And that in the end, he chose to listen to public opinion within his own party. Now, this is intra-party now. It shows that, you have both eternal democracy within the two major political parties in the U.S., and it's the mechanism of those eternal democracy that will enable him to say, look, as much as I want to, I believe I can run, but it will appear that the preponderance of public opinion within the party does not favor him running, and he chose to take a bow. I think that's just being the honest man that he has always been, and a true Democrat.
All right, I don't want to belabor you with the issues because this is just happening. So we have a lot of time to condense it and assimilate and to see what we can make out of the situation. So let's come back home to the issue of, let's begin from what played out yesterday in Edo State. We saw yourself, the party national chairman, and other top party leaders inaugurating that gubernatorial campaign council in Edo State ahead of the September election. But one of the highlights of that particular event was the fact that Mr. Philip Shaibu, the reinstated deputy governor, has now returned to your party, the APC, where he had left to join the PDP following the last election. So one is wondering, how did it make you feel welcoming your political son back at the end of the day? Because he's always maintained the fact that, yes, he fell out with his own father, but now he's returned home. We saw him bowing and showing pain obeisance and all of that.
Well, that is the nature of politics. I always say, whatever you've done wrong, the day you realize you've done wrong, and you have the courage to own up to your poor judgment or actions that were undemocratic, as I say, it is still better. One of the things that I felt strong about is the fact that Comrade Philip, as a former majority leader of Edo State House of Assembly, and even he served half a term at the federal level as a member of the House of Rep, he ought to defend the integrity of the parliament. And I was really, really shocked that he extended his hand of fellowship. I mean, he masterminded used his own residence to go and abduct members of the APC who were elected, about 10 of them, and refused to swear in the other 14. And for me, that was a shame, not only to him, but a shame also to our party. But it is clear that there were some, as of that time, some APC governors who were backing that crisis, for whatever reason, including the suspicion that they wanted to weaken me from my base. But I've gone to election, I've been reinstated by the people in a massive senatorial election. And for me, that settles it. You have to recognize that this is not like anybody's personal farm. A political party is a voluntary association, and we are regulated by both APC Constitution, and we are regulated by both the Electoral Act and the Nigerian Constitution. For me, not a big deal to worry about. I think that's it.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking that question again is the fact that you had seen this, or people have interpreted this initial move. And now, you were very instrumental to bringing him, as well as the governor, Godwin Obaseki, to that political space 8 years ago. He's played some long-time politics all the way to the time of the military. But Obaseki, at that time, was a neophyte, and you brought him in, and people felt he had betrayed you, and Philip joined in that betrayal. And now he is back to you. Are you concerned about his loyalty?
Well, that is a theoretical question. Time will tell.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so let's move on now to the issue of what played out on the day he returned. And unfortunately, somebody had to die given the fracas that happened at the airport. We hear all kinds of stories. I want to hear from you maybe what you're learning, because I'd had a conversation with the government side, and they are saying that Philip Shaibu instigated this violence. I had a conversation with Philip Shaibu, the reinstated Deputy Governor, His Excellency. He said that the government side was behind all of this, but you made some pronouncement that vigilantes should be banned. Is it that you believe that government was behind that incident at that airport road?
Well, I think it's a matter of common sense. Our candidate, District Senator Monday Upewulu, arrived at the airport, and he had a conversation with the Commissioner of Police, who claimed that he came there to receive Honorable Philip Shaibu. And in the end, I guess he knew, it would be shocking if a Commissioner of Police doesn't have basic intelligence information. I believe, this is my opinion, that knowing that there were people at the exit, the Commissioner of Police chose to follow the entrance to leave the airport. I believe he did that because he knew it is not possible to have those level of gunshots by so many people, and the police have no knowledge of the planning. And I don't think you want to suggest that Senator Monday will organize somebody to shoot and kill his own orderly. That doesn't make basic common sense. But what I think is worrisome is that as we speak, the Commissioner of Police, as far as I'm aware, has not, to this point, arrested any one person. This is a crime committed broad daylight and committed against one of his own officers. An inspector of police was killed. He was officially assigned to the candidate. And even the statement made by the police public relations officer was completely such that he appeared to be turning logic upside down, suggesting that he's completely compromised. When he said, for example, one Monday, that is very disrespectful. Say one Monday of a certain party who is contesting for governorship, according to him, came to receive Philip. Of course, there's no truth in that. And in the course of going out, armed people just open fire, and they have no idea who the people are. Everybody knows who those people are because it happened broad daylight. Like I said yesterday, I think the Commissioner of Police have a duty to redeem the image of the police and live up to the bidding of a police commissioner, or that the police act. The days should be gone where police, we claim unknown policeman doing something. I mean, if you think it makes sense for even Philip to organize to shoot at somebody who he has been supporting, and I saw that in a couple of interviews you had with him, that he was supporting the APC candidate. So think about that he will at the same time organize people to shoot at him or shoot at his bodyguard. So obviously the government has a lot of explanation to make. Number two, I'm sure your people in Benin will tell you that these people they call so-called vigilante group with their dark uniforms, they were seen all over the place. It was broad daylight. Those are government so-called vigilante group, which is what some of us are worried about. Those who talk about state police. If you have in a country where the ethical norms and standards are low, you don't want to put armed men under the control and direction of people who are ready to go to any length, even to waste people who are innocent. But I'm hopeful that the Inspector General of Police will compel the Commissioner of Police to do his job and fish out those responsible and make an intelligent explanation. Because this thing happened to me when I was a governor, when my principal private secretary was murdered. You find the police giving out a report that says that even the weapon used for the killing was in police custody. The guy who carried out the shooting was in police custody. The DSS gave what appeared to be more credible explanation. So I asked the then CP and the then IG, are you suggesting that you release the gun, the weapon from your armory, and give to a criminal to go and shoot? and you release somebody in custody to go and shoot someone. But you have those two variants. I believe the DSS report was more credible, and I still believe that up to today. And it's a shame that police always think that they can cover up. I do not think on this occasion the CP will be able to get away with it. I think he has a duty to arrest and prosecute those who are responsible. Incidentally, he was seen on television with the governor just a few weeks back or a few months back, talking about, they are going to ban secret court. Anybody who's a member of secret court, they will arrest him. Okay, this one is an open court. They are both secret and open, and they have killed. And they kill a policeman, a man in uniform. If that does not affect the heart, go to the heart of the commissioner of police, I don't know what will. So we are giving him the benefit of the doubt that he will do a meticulous investigation. Because he also said they have idea of where these people are. If you have idea where they are, you should go after them. The police are armed. They have the right to bear arms. These other guys under the law, they don't have any legal right to bear arms. And it's clear that from those who have seen the bodies, told me that the bullet was that of AK-47, not even day gun, not double barrel, AK-47. So if the commissioner of police allow people in Edo to wield AK-47 as recklessly as they did and kill somebody, kill a policeman, if that doesn't touch him, I don't know what will.
So, Senator, I have a lot to talk about with you. Given your history, labor leader, former governor, now senator, so you are one of those with the highest points or with the highest visibility as far as the politics is concerned. So I'm going to be running through a couple of them. But in coasting home with the issue of Edo politics, I remember yesterday when the chairman of the party was saying by permutation, 50% is already in the pockets, just another 50% and it's a done deal. And I heard the governor also say that if your party is able to get 20% in this election, they'll be very fortunate. And some of the premise is the fact that given what played out in the primaries of the APC governorship primary election, it was perhaps one of the most embarrassing because basics were not answered. There was debate over who is going to be the returning officer announcing the result. Venue of the secretariat to collect result was an issue. The number of votes as to how it's allotted or who won what was even in contention until there was another round of counting and all of that was resolved. So do you think that APC stands a good chance in this election as far as Edo is concerned?
Very well. I mean, I'm surprised that you only talk about APC. The two candidates, they have still resolved their issues within the party, and even without bringing Abuja to be involved in it. There's all resolved within Edo State. And one is now serving as a running mate, and the other one as a candidate. And that's a win-win formula. And so everybody is going to bring his own straight on board. I thought what you should talk about is the fraud that an Abuja Federal High Court has pronounced, that the process that brought the PDP candidate was a fraudulent process. They did not comply neither with the law nor with their constitution, and therefore nullify the process. Of course, as you say, you can't put something on nothing. Although they tried to dismiss it that it was just a declaration, if it was just a mere pronouncement, why are they going on appeal? They have gone to appeal. So whereas in APC, our candidate and running may have no issues whatsoever. You saw them yesterday on the same platform and talking to members of the campaign council. One of the things you forgot to mention is that one of the problems Philip claimed to have was that PDP did not conduct a free and fair primary. And now the court has affirmed that. And so they are on appeal. So as we speak, the legal status of the PDP candidate is uncertain. Unless they have a reprieve from Court of Appeal and ultimately the Supreme Court. Why this uncertainty persists? Politicians by their nature, they don't invest in doubtful virtue. And so I would be surprised. And I thought it will excite you that yesterday you saw very senior members of PDP, the one that is called a legacy group, declaring, withdrawing from PDP and declaring support for APC. These are the founding members of PDP in Edo State who lend their umbrella to the current government. And they have now decided that, given all that has happened within them, which they are not able to resolve, that the only part of honor is for them to leave the PDP and not to stay in the cold to join APC. And so we happily receive them. I think that comparing the two, APC has no problem. That there was an argument, there was contestation as to who won the primary, did win. That is now history. What is important is that at the end of the day, both the candidate and the running mate who were at the heart of this contestation are now working together. And that's what matters. Whereas PDP is still in court. And they have a chance, unless they find favor with the Supreme Court, they have no candidate as we speak.
If I may button, the reason I'm asking you about APC is because you're in APC. If the PDP man is sitting, I'll ask. Because I know that I think the vice chairman of your party in the state had resigned. And a couple of people, I think Integrity Group had said, look, they don't believe in the capacity of Monday Okpebholo to be able to deliver, which is why they had their grievances. So it's not as if it's Uhuru in any of the political parties. So, but because you are like the father in the state of this political party, is why I'm asking you this question. And for Monday Okpebholo himself, I'm not sure whether it's media shy, I don't know what to call it, with all the greatest sense of respect. But we haven't seen him say anything that we can hold on to as to how he's going to be able to turn around the fortunes of Edo State if he's fortunate to take over from Godwin Obaseki. And we know you're a very vocal person, articulate, and we can follow your track record. What exactly is going on with the candidate of the party for his inability to engage? And let's see what he has on offer.
Well, if he has not engaged with Channel Television or some other television station, that does not imply that he cannot engage. What matters is the fact that he engages with the people of Edo State. And you must have heard this question too, although you say you are limiting your questions to my party because I'm of APC. No, because after the primary, the contestation is now between APC and PDP and even Labour. So you cannot, in fairness, find comfort in discussing what you think are the issues in APC. The other issue is that what our people are looking at? They have tested people who call themselves technocrats, who have spent billions of naira in quote and unquote consultancy services. And they turn up well-articulated blueprints, which will never translate to action. You must have seen, my brother, because your station is one of the most credible network.
Thank you.
That people in Benin now make a joke when it rains and you find huge pools of water, flood water, everywhere in Benin. And people are saying, oh, this is the Gelegele port. They thought Gelegele port was going to be sited at Gelegele, but it's now right in the heart of the city. And just 2 weeks ago, a young man of 9 years old was washed away by flood water. Those are areas APC deflooded. So let's talk about party. What is the reputation now of PDP in Edo State? Zero. They are fighting the traditional ruler, in my opinion, for very senseless reasons. They are busy themselves with so-called artifacts. They are demolishing a hospital to erect a supermarket. They demolish a library in this 21st century to construct a shopping mall, etc., etc. So people are very much aware of what is going on. And even as you would have noticed a few days back, the governor was reported as sacking one of his commissioners for health. That's a key ministry that he has not performed, which means he has failed in the health sector. If he has failed in the health sector, which sector has he passed? And then you had on yesterday challenges him to explain how he can be talking of Edo Best. And I think they duped the World Bank, where they send people typical of those double-breasted consultants. They stay in the capital, they show them 1 or 2 centers, and they go back and write very lousy and beautiful report that Edo Best is there. And I mentioned that when I was governor by 2014, and this is a record with WAEC, from where we met Edo as a center for exam fraud, what they call miracle centers. We not only wipe off the miracle centers, we replace them with red roof. We build schools that appeal to the young minds. Another year, the enrollment in public school more than doubled. And to make it even much clearer so that nobody has excuse not to send a child to school, I procure what we call comrade buses, because I'm a comrade. And I said, all those in school uniform, whether private school or public school, once you board the comrade bus, you don't pay anything. And so parents, whether they are poor or rich, Had no excuse not to go. Now people can compare those, what they call the good old days. And that's why I can go to Benin as often as I do and walk the street of Benin. And if I might invite you, ask your correspondent in Benin, let him follow me on a road walk. And then also ask the other guy to go on a road walk. The difference will be clear. Because you try to personalize issues. We have to talk about the party. If grammar is the basis.
It's not about...
You mentioned, wait. You mentioned US at the beginning. Are you not surprised that a country that has Harvard, that have Institute of technology, this high-profile university,
Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT.
Sometimes they say they don't have electable material. People can blow grammar, but what it takes to be electable goes beyond grammar. And remember,
Comrade,
at the heart of election is numbers. Majority of the people in Edo State are no longer interested in government by MOU, government by, all this big grammar and all that. At the end of the day, notice on ground. They want action man. In any case, you saw Monday spoke yesterday. He was very clear about what he's going to do differently to reposition Edo State. Those who were there appreciate him, and they gave him a huge applause. If you didn't see it, it's because maybe it wasn't convenient for you.
It's nothing personal. The only difference here is that you're not the one on the ballot. It's Mondo Pueblo who is on the ballot. Maybe you can help us extend the invitation to him that we want to have a chat with him. Whatever he said on the platform, let's have a chat with him here. But let's move on from there, comrade, because we have a lot of things. I told you a couple of issues I want you to speak to. We'll come back to Edo State at some
By the way, you forgot to mention that I was also national chairman.
No,
the APC at what time?
We're going to come to that issue. We're going to come to that issue. We are wearing many caps, comrade, so I understand perfectly. But let's come to the incident that happened a few days ago. As far as Ali Ndume's, we call it demotion because it was the chief whip, was removed as chief whip and sent to another committee. In your view, was the Senate fair to Ali Ndume in the way they took their action?
This is not about my views, because the Senate, by its nature, discussed everything on camera. That session was covered by Channel Television, among other network. The reasons given and the reaction of the senators. I think that is enough to put that matter to rest. I'm not here to discuss things that are already public domain. Whatever were the allegations were read on the floor of the Senate with cameras there, and the issue taking, you also can play back and see who supported it, who opposed it. I don't want to really go into a matter of a fellow senator. I have respect for every disagreeing senator, whether perfect or imperfect. But however, there has to be rules. So it's not for me to defend its removal or celebrate its removal. That is neither here or there.
Senator, the reason I'm asking that question is because the perception out there could be that the party may be intolerant to in-house criticism of its own affairs. Because he was talking about the state of the nation, and everybody knows, as you know, even the president knows that things are really bad, and there's only hope that it's going to get better. And he was highlighting those facts, as well as those who are saying he's exploiting it for his personal gain. That's another kettle of fish. Just that part of the party being intolerant to criticism is what I'm concerned about, that I may like you to speak to, because you've been a national chairman of that party.
On this one, I will choose to be stubborn by refusing to lead towards a matter that is already in public domain. I am not happy to reveal anything. Now, if you watch my own contribution on the floor of the Senate, nobody can dismiss me as someone that just go on one bench. I have been quite vocal and clear about certain decisions, resolutions, or laws made by the National Assembly. But that's why we are in Parliament. You have a right to contest issues. We may agree or disagree, because the National Assembly is the engine of democracy. I think it would be unfair for you to insist that after an institution that I belong to has taken a decision, I should go back and begin to review it, whether rightly or wrongly. No, that is not fair. There are ethics, there are norms. I'm not at liberty to go and begin to review what a competent Senate has done. city in session. No. It will not help our viewers, nor does it help the institution of the Senate.
All right, comrade, we're going to...
We have no important somebody...
No, you can land on your thoughts. I thought you were done. Please, land on your thoughts.
Actually, I'm landed.
All right, because I know that a former chairman of your party, vice chairman, I should say, Northwest, has been firing from all cylinders, saying that those who supported the action against Ndume, more like looking at them with fanatical mindset. So I needed you to speak to it because he was also at that top level. But we're going to go on a quick break, comrade. There's a lot to talk about yet after that break. And one of the issues we'll talk about is the state of the Nigerian economy, as well as the issue of the local government autonomy and local government elections. We'll be back after this break. Comrade, you stay with us as we take your view on this. Join us again. Welcome back. We're looking at the state of the nation. And my guest is a former Labour leader, former governor of Edo State, as well as former national chairman of the All Progressives Congress and the senator representing Edo North Senatorial District in the Senate of the National Assembly. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Distinguished, thank you so much for staying with us. So let's get straight to the issue of the economy. The things are so rough and so hard and so tough and so difficult right now that even in 2016, when there was a recession or so, the cost of living was not this bad, given those twin policies of government. In your view, besides the call for patience and let's keep hopeful, what clearly have you seen that you can point to tell Nigerians that your party is taking the country on the right track to a better future? Because right now, Nigerians are not smiling with your party. They're not smiling with the leadership of the country.
All right, if I were to play back your analysis 10 years ago, or thereabout, when the PDP was at the center, at the point they wanted to change their name because Nigerians were fed up. And then President Buhari came in, and of course, you also know all the critical comments. So there is no wishing away the fact that there are challenges. And there are challenges, and life is tough for many people. And but the good thing is, the president has always said, and I think that is a mark of statesmanship, let nobody pity him. He knew that these were bad. Well, in my opinion, he probably doesn't know that these were as bad as they are. But the good thing is, he is summoning courage to deal with some fundamental issues. One of the things we dealt with a few days back was about the so-called with-for-profit by banks that are not lending. And that is because many players were feasting on the dual exchange rate. So if the CBN governor likes you, he allocates $1 million to you. Without making any effort, you can make another $1 million. Now, that hemorrhage has been removed completely by the president. Of course, part of the consequences of that is the current rate of the exchange. And of course, that will impact on prices of goods and services. And I think it is in appreciation of this fact that the government has been dealing with three key issues. The first is to deal with so-called palliatives. Though I'm not sure I personally like the word palliative. But I mean, the president is saying, no, we care. We can't pretend that life is not hard, and we have to find a way to do a couple of things. And he also said, okay, you go to improve minimum wage, to take into account the high cost of living. And when we talk about minimum wage, it actually means increasing wages across the board, because once you jack up the minimum, the top will also go up. And there's always a trade-off to be made. In every public policy, there are winners, there are losers. And sometimes the time lag between when you roll out policies and when you begin to gain the fruit of those policies can take quite some time. So I believe that for a president who has gone through what he went through in life, it's unthinkable for anybody to suggest that he's doing anything deliberately. No. The truth of the matter is that in the world of governance, and I was a governor, between when I conceptualized a policy and tried to start the implementation, and when the benefit begin to accrue and people begin to clap, it takes time. I can give you an example. I, for example, decided that, look, if it was about using my family resources to develop Edo State, nobody would vote for me. What I did promise is that we are going to collect taxes from those who earn enough to pay those taxes. And somebody said to me, if you do go this way, you are not going to be popular anymore. And I said, if it was a popularity contest, my best job in life was being the president of NLC and engaging the then president who was battling between his military background and the imperative of a democratic system which allows citizens to interrogate him. And I did quite a bit to support other Nigerians and the NLC to interrogate those policies. But in the end, I said, I will lose some supporters at the beginning. I understand that. But if the policies work and I apply the resources judiciously, those friends I lost in the morning, I will win them back in the evening. And by the time I left office, we had this popular signboard that this is taxpayers' money at work, no longer for the godfathers. And check it out, when I did my second term, I got 18/18. But when I introduced those taxes, not a few of our party leaders told me, no, comrade, people they don't expect you to collect more taxes if people don't pay tax. The good news is that you don't tax those who don't earn. And how much you pay as tax is a function of how much you earn. And so I had the opportunity where I had to take those difficult decisions, but in the end, it's simply impossible, my dear brother, to have a nice omelette for the family without having to break somebody's eggs. You know, it would be nice if the world was such that you can have such a huge omelette on your table in the morning and all your eggs are intact. So I believe that the president is doing whatever he can, whether it's constitutional cash transfer, supporting some business startups, you know, appropriate public funds to support them, and reinvesting in education, and even the more talked about student loan to ensure that no child drop out of school on account of the economic circumstances of the parents. This I feel that were in the year before, so I'm not going to be able to cover all of the issues here. And any event, don't forget, I am in the legislature. I am not in the executive.
Yeah, comrade, because the reason I'm asking is because it's your party, and of course you've been a national chairman. You have to even remind me, not as if I forgot, but you have many titles, so I cannot skip that. The reason is that we understand there are plans. We can see some effort, but it's not moving the needle. That is always what we've always maintained. Nobody will applaud you for effort. Everybody wants to see results at the end of the day. You may say it's too early to look for those results. So let's go from 1999 till now. How many governments have promised a thing to better the fortunes of Nigeria, and indeed it got better? Nigerians are traumatized with failed promises. So what is different with President Bola Tinubu that we should believe him?
Well, I will tell you, even during the days of the military, when you read their coup statements about all the things that are going wrong and what they are going to do differently, 2 years down the road, they get kicked out, and Nigeria celebrate because there's a huge gap between the promise and what is happening. So governance is not a kiss play. So I think that is it. You have to agree that some of the policy initiatives will require more than a year to materialize. And what will the president gain by resorting to policy choices that are unlikely to deliver comfort, you know, in the long run? Now, in the short run, medium to long term, truth be told, you can have your wishes, but unfortunately, it doesn't just work that way. It doesn't just work that way. But what I think the government must do, which the president is doing, is to recognize that, you know, there are challenges. People are obviously going through hardship. And it is not just to lament it, but to do something positive to address it. And address it at two levels. One is to jack up wages. That's what is done everywhere in the world, including America that you mentioned. When the cost of living is going up, they adjust wages to cope with the rising cost of living. And you also need to remember that Nigeria is a federation. And the state governments too are supposed to, and I'm sure many of them are doing something to also deal with the hardship arising from some of the policies. So I think for me, it's about having faith that in the long run, these things will work out. And 1 year, you know, there's a difference between magic on miracles. There are no miracles in the life of a nation. You know, your input, your throughput, the quality of the input and the throughput determine the output. And between the input, throughput to output, or final outcome, just can take time, depending on how fundamental the issues are.
Comrade,
I don't know what to feel, for example, when people who work less than you do, just because they have a relationship with the CBN, they were just collecting rents. And look at the amount of money that was printed that is not supported by any economic fundamentals. These are huge challenges that the president has to deal with. And there are no miracles.
Comrade, the reason...
I think for me,
Comrade,
do it right or wrong is better than so you do nothing. Lamentation is not an option.
Comrade, the reason, while we're trying to do the brilliant analytics of all of this, people are converging to do what they call, I think, the End Bad Governance protest across the nation. I would like your take on that particular protest, because people are hungry and they're tired, and they're feeling like the government should look inwards and maybe deal with some issues of corruption and take further action that would look at what is going on in Kenya. The president had to take drastic action. Perhaps Nigerians are asking for drastic action on the side of government and maybe the key players in the system to be able to change their fortune. What do you make of this end bad governance protest that is hovering around us?
Well, I don't know why. When you invited me, these are not the issues we're going to discuss. But
no, it's just a dovetailing.
When last did you hear of people talking about this is a good government? Where? Now, the Kenyans that have resorted to protest and destroying stores and shops, etc., has that delivered relief? So, I'm a believer, you know my background, so I don't need to play it back. I think that nobody will benefit from violence. We have an unfair share of violence in many areas. But I believe that the government is listening, and I expect that it will continue to listen, not just listen, act on the basis of the policy options that are available to deal with the concerns of very many Nigerians. There's no question about that. I'm clear. I mean, if you check even our debates in the Senate, we have drawn attention to, obviously, the challenges that are confronting Nigerians. But I'm not too sure that you go to resort to measure that might just compound the problem.
All right, so comrade, let's move on to one other issue that I highlighted for you we should be talking about, which has to do with the local government financial autonomy. In fact, it was really interesting to see, you've been a governor, so you'll be in the right position to answer this as well, to see that as soon as that law was in favor of the federal government, that this fund should be transferred directly to local government, the governors came, I remember the NGF chairman, Abdulrazak Abdulrahman of Kwara State, said, look, he's even taking up the burden from us. He said, we don't take local government money. So some will wonder, if you're not taking local government money, why were you taking to court to affirm the position of the ground norm in the first place? But what will be your initial reaction and how to make sure that this is not just talks and paper, that indeed this fund gets to the people and it serves the people from your vantage position?
Well, let me play back memory lane. When I was president of Nigeria Labour Congress, I joined the National Union of Local Government Employees to organize a mass protest against those states that were pocketing the revenue accruing to local government. When I was governor of Edo State, the only thing I did was to say, you have your resources, manage it based on the localities of your area, but there's one thing that is not negotiable. You must prioritize the payment of primary school teachers, because at the heart of our future is the issue of basic education. And so once you can pay that, whatever else are your priorities, deal with it. Don't bring anything to me to approve. I never approve anything. And when the tenure of local government expired, again, this is something I'm very proud about. I inherited a PDP-controlled local government, all 18 of them. And people said I should dissolve the local government. First, because of the way they write the result. Obviously, everybody knows that the election was not free and fair. But I said to myself, once the courts have legitimized the election, we rather let them run out their tenure. And when they did, I said, we will not spend, nobody should spend, not the commissioner for local government, not anybody in the executive will touch the revenue accrued to the local government. And by the time we conducted the virtually local government election, we have saved a couple of billions for each of the local government for them to use to deal with issues in their various localities. However, whereas it is true that local government money has been mismanaged, secondly, I want to make this point. I did have cause as a city governor to appeal to the former president that he should call for a meeting of the National Union of Local Government Employees, state governors, and ask us, what are we doing with local government resources? Because in President Buhari's acceptance speech on May 29, 2015, he did say that whereas he respects the autonomy of local government, but he will be trusted on how their resources is managed. And I told him, well, some of the people who have worked with me and went to their state, you know, the kind of story they were narrating, like his local government guy told me that his salary has not been paid, so I should find a way to help him. And I said, but you are supposed to be the employer, you are the chairman. And he said, he's made to sign for the amount, and then somebody picks the money, and then they give him a token, but unfortunately over time, even that token was no longer being given, so he couldn't even feed his family. So that's how bad the situation is. However, there are also some states, there are also some states who the money accruing to their local government may not be enough for them to meet the non-negotiable issues like basic education. I mean, payment of teacher salaries. But how many these are, I don't know. But remember, at the heart of our problem is not autonomy. Autonomy is important. I support it 100%. I protested against it. I tried to pressurize government, but wait. However, the fact that you are free from governor's control does not mean you are free from issues of character. So they say to whom much is given, much is expected. So I hope that, and it's only hope, that the local government chairman will do everything possible to ensure that they apply the autonomy sensibly and judiciously in a manner that the people in their localities will feel the impact. Because the truth be told, if the money that goes to local government trickles down to the people in each of those local governments, poverty at the grassroots level will be far less than what it is today.
Okay, comrades, we're racing out.
Some of you also criticized about...
We're running out of time, comrade. My apologies. Just two quick questions, if possible. Because I can't have you here and not ask you about your take on the minimum wage, which I would like you to speak to as briefly as possible. And also, if you can match it together for me, the issue of INEC conducting elections. We heard, I think, Tony Okocha, the caretaker chairman of the APC in Rivers State, saying when he was the chief of staff, they were writing results and announcing. INEC will announce the result, and they even had handouts for both INEC and the judiciary at that state level. That means that all of this local government election is just for the cameras. Nothing really happens because the incumbents will take over power at that local level. So if you can quickly speak to that in 2 minutes. First, the issue of the minimum wage, sir.
Yeah, well, my position is that I remember doing a letter to former President Obasanjo, and I said, we don't want a car-headed president. We want to negotiate. And what is agreed to will be something that's acceptable to both the employer and the employees. But it's also important that we make a distinction, and I'm going to speak from my own experience, that as president of NLC, we had a legal minimum wage of 5,500. But we decided at the NLC level to advise our state chapters, particularly National Union of Civil Service Union and other unions in the public service, that the federal government, Lagos state government, all the oil-producing states like Delta, as of that time, Delta, Bayelsa, Akwa Ibom, and Rivers, that they should pay the same rate as the federal. And on record, whereas the law provides for 5,500, what the federal government actually ended up paying was 7,500, which is almost about 45% increase over and above the legal minimum wage. So for me, I think the challenge is for my comrades in the unions to to recognize that minimum wage law is meant to protect the weakest people who arguably may not be able to organize unions. So you need the law to protect them. But it's not often a living wage. A living wage should be the outcome of negotiations. So, and when people talk about different ability to pay, okay, maybe yes or no, because it's a very problematic argument, because when people are buying cars or buying whatever they do, nobody asks you to pay based on your ability to pay. You either can afford it or you go without the product. Now, I think that it's about looking at this critically and say, by law, this is it. But XYZ state, I think you can afford to pay this.
All right.
And the figures are not secret. You see what people earn. And the other one about, what is it now?
Whether INEC should conduct local government election. We have 30 seconds, comrade, 30 seconds.
Oh, yes. Well, those are the contradictions in our system. Obviously, every governor seems to right result. And so people have lost faith. However, we also defend our true federalism. If you want to do true federalism, it is the state government that will, and the State House of Assembly that determine how elections are conducted. So it's neither here or there. But in all of this, what we need is character and good conscience.
All right, comrade, I must thank you so much. I know we literally had to pull you out to be here, but thank you. Former Labour leader, former governor of Edo State, former national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, and a senator representing Edo North Senatorial District. Comrade, we would like to have you yet again because there's a lot to talk about. We must thank you. And if you can extend that invitation to Monday, October.
Thank you very much for your very penetrating questions and your analytical skill. I admire you a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
In line with the Chinese tradition.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for the compliment.
Welcome.
Thank you. All right, that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzoma. Good night.